based on our discussion, according to reality or as it really is, actually points to ultimate reality. So ultimate reality, for example, it can be like our own breath when we are breathing in, breathing out, so something that we can experience directly. Whereas as it has occurred, we actually interpret it in a sense that, you know, it will have two aspects to it: ultimate reality and conceptual reality. So conceptual reality to us, it meant some things that we cannot experience directly. For example, when we just have lunch, when the food is being digested, this is something that we cannot see or we cannot really feel it directly. So this is how we define the difference between both.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to share their views, opinions?
Bante, in my opinion, I would think this is a very significant difference, and it can lead to one will be misunderstood about the Four Noble Truths. If you look at the statement according to reality, it does not truly explain that suffering has to be understood and its origin need to be abandoned, and the cessation need to be realized, and the last Eight Noble Path need to be developed. So if, for example, we talk about life is suffering, if we put in a statement according to reality, it can mean that, when put in a statement, this is suffering, it can mean that life is suffering. That's what normally wrongly misunderstood the Four Noble Truths. But if we put in a statement as it has occurred, it truly point up to the understanding that suffering has to be understood.
Experience, maybe.
Yeah, it has to be experienced and needs to be understood. Otherwise, it sounds like this is suffering, sounds like life is suffering. So it's quite a significant difference. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. Yes.
The outcome of our discussion is basically reality. Everyone's understanding of reality is different. It's kind of like a perception. So, and it's not really changing all the time when it comes to perception. It's fixed.
Why is fixed? Reality is fixed.
No, the perception of reality.
Perception of reality is fixed.
That's what we think is static.
It's static. Perception is static.
Yeah, that's what we think.
Reality is not.
The perception of reality is fixed.
And reality?
Reality is not.
No, not fixed. Okay.
That's why the difference when it comes to it has occurred is something that is according to what actually happens. And what actually happens is always changing due to the conditions. So, yeah, that's our discussion from Group 8.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Our group discussion, in the beginning also...
Please hold the mic nearer. Yes.
In the beginning also, we think that it has two different meanings. But at the end, after Bante Kumara come and guide us, basically it's no difference. Because...
So is that your decision or Bante Kumara's decision?
No. After we digest it, we investigate it. Because to be able to be stated as reality means it's already occurred. The fact, when we say that in reality, Malaysia independent, it's already occurred, then we can say reality. Things that have not occurred cannot be classified as reality.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, someone else, I think. Yeah, Kaki.
In our group discussion just now, we try to replace the sentence, according to reality as it is and it has occurred, to the text, page number 80. Here, amongst know as it has occurred, this is suffering, okay? Then we replace it, amongst knows according to reality, this is suffering, and we change among knows as it really is, this is suffering. So if you change the words, then we feel it's quite different, because you say amongst know as according to reality, because the monks hasn't understood what is reality. You know, we may not know what is reality, so it's like it cannot point to the subject of investigation. If you say as it has occurred, that time I may not know whether this is suffering or this is not suffering, but I have the curiosity to investigate more whether this is suffering or not. So this is my understanding. When you use the word as it has occurred, it pointed the meditator to investigate the phenomena, whether what the Buddha said is true or not, whether this is truly suffering or this is not suffering. So if we use the word as it has occurred, it gives more freedom and objective to the meditator to investigate more and whether this is suffering or not, rather than just hear, oh, this is suffering, this is what. But the understanding is not there. You just merely repeat what the Buddha has said. It doesn't really mean that you have understood it correctly. But if you say it as it has occurred, the Buddha, then we actually investigate more what is had already happened, and we want to see whether there is suffering or not.
Okay.
Just now, during our discussion, we remembered that you had given an example of comprising of two aspects, both conceptual as well as ultimate reality. And we were scratching our heads. We couldn't figure out where. We were going through the book. We couldn't find out where. And then suddenly it just clicked. And I don't know whether my sati is correct or not. Because when you were saying, when we're talking about the Four Noble Truths, this is suffering. It's just slipped my mind again. This is suffering. It has a conceptual part and an ultimate part. Just now I could remember, but now I can't remember Bhante, so sorry.
You have to recharge your sati.
No, I know the answer is in there.
Okay, anyone? Anyone else? Nope. Okay. As I said, this is actually a literal translation. Bhuta is a past participle. Actually, you might not be so familiar with the Pali present tense. The present tense of Bhuta is bhavati. Usually it's hoti, and the imperative tense is hotu or hontu. Hontu is plural. Hontu is plural. Hotu is singular, third person.
Okay, I remember very well now. Bhante said the definition of suffering, birth, aging, sickness, and death, that's conceptual, right? But not getting what you want is ultimate reality.
No. I said there was the last one, 5 khandas.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. So, precisely the last one, the clinging, 5 clinging aggregates is ultimate reality. So that's why you use the word as it has occurred, because we reckon that meant having containing 2 aspects.
Okay. Actually, when I said conceptual and ultimate reality, I'm using it in the way the Abhidhammikas use. When you look at old age, suffering, and death, this can actually be experienced, right? But then, when you come to the ultimate reality, what you experience are just sensations. The idea of aging is only an idea. That there's somebody that grows old. Actually, there's just elements, sensations coming and going, and there's only sights, the colors changing. So in terms of ultimate reality, it's reduced to the elements of just color, sound, taste, sensations, things that you can directly experience. Aging is not something you can directly experience. It's a concept in the sense that it's an interpretation of the ultimate realities that are occurring. Can you understand? Right. But coming back to the word yathabhuta, Bhuta, as I said, is a past participle. of the word, the present tense bhavati, which I don't think you're familiar with. You're more familiar with hoti. Hoti is the present tense of hotu. Hotu is the imperative tense, like may you be well, or may he be well, or may she be well. All right, it's the be. Yeah, in English is be. Okay, it's interesting to look at 3 times, past, present, and future, that the Pali terms used for these 3 concepts. Because time is only a concept. Now, the Pali term for past is atita, and it can be analyzed as ati plus ita. Ati means beyond, and ita is has gone. It's a past participle. You know what's a past participle? Okay, let me give you a simple English example. I go, right? I go is in the present tense. I went is in the past tense. I've gone is in the participle. All right, so this one has gone. And so these 2 combined together means has gone beyond, which is past. And in Chinese also we say 鬼了的代志, right? Past, something that's past. And anagata is ana plus agata. Ana means not, agata means has come, has not come, which means it's the future. And what is present? Paccuppanna. And let's look at how this word comes about. It comes from pati and uppanna. Pati is the emphatic prefix, emphasizes something. And uppanna is has arisen. Has arisen is the past participle. So paccuppanna has just arisen. That is the present. So it's interesting to see that all these 3 times are expressed in the past participle. You see? And when it comes to the context of meditation, whenever the Buddha asks you to contemplate, whatever is in the past, present, and future, he will use these words. There is another word for present, or two or three other words for present, which are not formed out of the past participle. For example, idani, now, etrahi, presently. These are just what we call nipatas, indeclinables. They don't have any roots in them. They don't have any tenses, right? But this one, paccuppanna, is made out of pati plus uppanna. And then pati is very interesting because it emphasizes what has just arisen. Because when it comes to contemplation, you can only contemplate experiential reality after it has happened, isn't it? As I said before, the mind door cannot contemplate itself unless it has already happened. You're angry first, and then you know that you're angry. You start wondering and thinking about things first, and then you know that you're wondering and thinking. Right? That's the mind door itself. And then whatever happens at the sense doors, you see first with the eye consciousness, and then the mind consciousness notices the act of seeing. Right, so it's always in the past. That's why I say the Buddha was very specific. He used the word sati, to mean looking back at the past. And whether it's a distant past, intermediate past, or immediate past, it's still the past. Right? And the words he used for describing the 3 times are also very specific. They are all based on experience. What has already occurred. So that's why I thought it would be more accurate to give it an experiential meaning, to put it as according to what has occurred rather than according to reality. Because according to reality, reality could just be a concept. Conceptually that everything is impermanent. Yeah? So when you say, you understand it according to reality, yeah, I understand it intellectually according to reality, but it's not something that you really experience. So in order to put an experiential flavor to it, I prefer to translate it literally as according to what has occurred. Look at sati. Sati is awareness of the past object, like I always maintain, and is found in all contexts, practically all contexts in the Pali Canon. It is used in that way. You see, for example, there's one phrase that's used for the Bodhisattva just before he came to earth to be born in his last existence. It says he was then in Tusita. So in the Digha Nikaya, it says that the Bodhisattva, Sato Sambhajano, entered the mother's womb. Sato Sambhajano means mindful and clearly aware, or clearly knowing. He enters the mother's womb. And then clearly aware, he comes out from the mother's womb. Okay, at that time, he didn't know the Noble Eightfold Path yet. Right or not? Because he was a Bodhisattva. He has not discovered the Noble Eightfold Path yet. So when that Sato Sambhajano used for the Bodhisattva, when he came in to be born as Siddhartha Gautama, is simply presence of mind, knowing exactly what's happening. Exactly what's happening means, immediate past. Clearly aware of what's happening. As I said before, you can only be clearly aware of what's happening if you remember to do so, or else you'll be lost in thoughts. So mindfulness is awareness of past object, and remember the 4 R's: remember, recollect, remind, retrospect. While collecting information and listening to instructions, recollecting the information that you had collected and the teacher's instructions, reminding yourself to practice the information collected and the teacher's instructions, and looking back at how the mind relates to the 6 senses. Before we go on, any questions or any comments before we go on?